Thank you everyone for joining. Today I am joined by Mr. Scott Klatzkin, who is the 2020 Delaware Sportscaster of the Year. Congratulations, sir.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to talk to you for a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. So I want to know, and everyone wants to know, what got you into sports, especially sportscasting specifically?
Yeah, I think anyone that you find in this field, it all started with a love of sports, right? From either playing it as a youth or watching it on television or whatever the case may be. There's got to be a passion, a love for sports, and I certainly had that. I played basketball and baseball growing up, but there was a point in time where you either stop growing or the talent isn't quite there to become a Division One athlete. And I thought to myself, as how can I stay close to sports? How can I be a part of it without necessarily playing? And that's where I turned to the field of communication and broadcasting, as I always felt comfortable speaking and always loved sports and playing sports. I was never a guy that would sit in front of the television with it on mute and pretend I was broadcasting the games. It just kind of happened naturally as a transition of, okay, my playing career is going to end. How can I still be a part of the action? And that was how kind of I decided to see if I could pursue this path. And it was something that I was able to do at a young age at the beginning of my collegiate career at University of Delaware by being a part of the student radio.
That's amazing. How long were you in the student radio for? 4 years?
I was, and I encourage everybody, if they can, to be as a part of it for as long as you possibly can and get those reps, as many reps as you can. I broadcasted my first game on the radio prior to taking my first class at the University of Delaware. Soccer season started a few days prior to classes beginning, and I had contacted the radio station and let them know this was something that I was interested in. And I didn't know a thing about soccer, but I tried my best, and I got on student radio, and probably there were some parents of the players that were very confused as to why this 18-year-old that didn't make much sense was on the air. But it was about getting on for the first time and trying something. And the reps in soccer led me to reps at basketball, which led me to reps at football. And then by the end of the 4 years, I had some tape, I had a presence, and I still wasn't any good, but at least I had some practice, and I wasn't starting at ground zero when I graduated.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how did your besides like after you graduated and you said you worked at sports radio, what was like the next big step for you in terms of sportscasting? And meaning, what was like your first job after graduation?
Yeah, I've been able to luckily stay local to the area. And one of the reasons I stay in Delaware is because it increases my odds. It's such a small state of winning these NSMA awards. So I'm kidding, of course, but it is a small area. It is a small state, and I've been able to stay close with the areas where I went to school. So I graduated on a Saturday, and I started at Clear Channel, which is now iHeartMedia, on a Monday, a sales and broadcasting position. I would broadcast high school football games on Friday nights, and then high school basketball games in the area. I transitioned from there to be the voice of Delaware State University, the Hornets, from 2008 to 2011, which was a great experience for me. They're in a conference, the MEAC, where they play a lot of pay games. So there's a lot of travel, and I got to go to a lot of places and travel with the team. We broadcasted a game at Michigan for football. We played UCLA in basketball, Arizona State, Texas Tech when Bobby Knight was there, and traveled a lot. So some really great experiences at Delaware State University, which is about an hour south of Newark, where University of Delaware is. But I always had the mindset of at some point in time, whether near or far in the future, one of my goals was to become the voice of the University of Delaware Blue Hens. It's my alma mater. I take great pride in that title. And so in the back of my mind, it was all kind of trying to take the steps to lead up to that position. And in 2012, I was able to land that position. And this will be my 10th year coming up in the fall.
That's amazing. Wow. That's amazing. Before we started this interview and recording it, you said you had to do some sales on the side for like sponsorship. So obviously there's another dimension with sportscasting in terms of promoting and everything.
Yeah, I think, and I came to that realization very early on, which was right after graduation. I had thought I'd kind of roll into the company and start calling the games, and they said, well, that's not how this works. If you want to get on the air, and they gave me some actual crazy sales number to hit, and they're like, all right, if you sell enough sponsorships, we'll let you do those high school football games. Sure, why not? And I banged on enough doors and made enough phone calls that I hit the number, and they allowed me to broadcast those high school games. I did the same thing at Delaware State University. Delaware State didn't have a broadcast program, so I went to their athletic director at the time and had a proposal to get some revenue. But I think I learned at a very young age that revenue is a driver of some of these sports broadcasts, and that commercial time and sponsorships are very important to allow you to be able to do some things that you want to do, or travel to places that you want to travel. There's a behind the scenes to it all that I learned some time ago.
That's amazing. Now, was there a lot of competition within your area, like with like local like programs and like radio with like trying to sponsor like the Delaware games, like Delaware State, or was it with the school specifically?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there was competition necessarily. I think everybody is out and trying to grab revenue dollars for whatever company there may be, and that's always the case. But other radio stations broadcast games or high school games. Fortunately, in the state of Delaware, there's not too many. There's certainly no professional teams, and there is only two Division I programs, and I've been lucky enough to work for both of them.
That's amazing. Um, when you're transitioning from football season to basketball season, now obviously this year football season was after basketball season in terms of the spring. Does it take you time to adjust from different sports?
That's a good question. And this year it was an odd year for all, and so it'll go football in the spring to football in the fall. But yeah, in the fall there is always that overlap. There's always that busy November period where football is still being played and basketball is just starting. And I'm sure there are times where I call half court the 50-yard line, or you just get confused as to what sport you're actually calling, because you might be calling games on a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. It might go back to back if there's a preseason tournament. So there is a transition time in the fall in around November that you typically have to get used to. But it's all fun. I wouldn't want to have it any other way.
That's amazing. Now, in regards to college graduates, what's the biggest advice you would give them post graduation trying to get into the sportscasting field?
Yeah, I would say always say yes to the first opportunity that someone gives you. You might not have an opportunity to say no the next time. You might not get asked again. And I say that in the sense of you might have your idea that you want to be a play-by-play broadcaster, but you might have an opportunity to be a halftime scoreboard update person, or do sideline, or they might ask you if you want to be a football broadcaster. They might ask you, hey, we have an opportunity to call an Olympic sport that maybe you're less familiar with. Say yes, because they'll remember that you were able to help out, or that you tried something new. Once you become a producer, that person then can move to the sideline. Then that sideline person then can become color analyst, and color can there are steps to the process. So you're not going to get maybe the job that you dream of right away. But if you hang on and you are agreeable, and you do the things that you are asked to do, or the opportunities that arise without a lot of hesitation, then I think people can appreciate that. I'll also say, and I'll speak from my experience, go to where you want to work. There are a lot of opportunities now where maybe in the past you would have to go far away and then come back. But in my experience, at least, I wanted the University of Delaware job, so I hung around, and it took a few years. But when that job was open up, there were hundreds of broadcasters that were better than me. There still are, but the fact that I already worked in the area, they already knew what they were getting in me. I was a low risk. I was in the area. They already knew me. I think if I was applying from another state and they didn't know who I was just based on my demo, I probably wouldn't have gotten the job. But if you are in the area and people already know you, there is probably a higher likelihood of you getting the job in that area whenever it does open up.
Yeah, sometimes connections can really help, and past experience within certain areas can really help you boost that your chances of getting a job. First and lastly, thank you so much for joining me today. Mr. Klatzkin. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything, and I appreciate it. And most importantly, thanks everyone for watching.